So blades have been roughly shaped, they've been roughly centered, 1200 grit, and they're ready for the next stage, which is heat treatment. So at the moment the metal's pretty soft. After heat treatment the metal will be hard, it'll also be a little bit mucked up because the heat treatment they end up sort of covered in goo, and sometimes they also get a little bit scratched in the process. So we will revisit them at that point. I'll also show you where the heat treatment gets done. So the actual heat treatment gets done this place here. Not much to it, you'd think, but they work the magic. So I got the knives back from heat treatment, and we'll just have a quick look and see what we got. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So obviously they come back filthy, and that's not a problem. You can also see possibly the 4 little marks where they've done heat treatment, and they did the test afterwards. What they do is they use a machine to push a little ball bearing into the steel, and that measures how hard the steel is. I've asked for it to come back at around 58, 59 Rockwell. So what we've got to do is clean up all the heat treatment marks and make some knives out of them. So I'll just wrap these up again, get them out of the way, keep them in some semblance of order. We'll have a bit of a play. Now, heat treatment, essentially, when I get the steel from the shop, it comes pretty soft, which is a good thing because it lets me grind it and sand it and file it and shape it into the position I want, into the shape I want to become a knife. However, that softness is no good when I actually want to have the steel sharp. So what I need to do at that point is get it heat treated. Now 01 steel is what I use, and that gets heat treated first of all by heating it up. Heat it up to around 700 degrees centigrade, and then take the heat away and let it rest. This kind of gets it prepared for the heat, as it were. Then it gets heated again the second time, and this time it gets brought up to between 780 degrees and 800 degrees, roughly. It's the temperature at which the steel loses its magnetic properties. At that point it gets taken away from the heat and pretty much instantly at that point shoved into a tub of slightly warmed oil. Now, it doesn't matter what oil it is. It could be peanut oil, it could be dirty old engine oil, it could be any oil at all. And it just warmed up probably to around 50 degrees, just a little bit. What that does is it cools the blade down, obviously. Now we want it to cool down quickly. The reason is that when it gets heated up to its proper temperature, it changes the crystalline structure inside it to one that's favourable for a knife. It aligns all the crystals and the carbides and everything up nicely. If we take it out of the heat and just let it cool down slowly, it'll revert back to the form it was at previously. However, if we take it out and cool it down rapidly, it kind of gets frozen into that state. So we shove it into the oil and move it back and forth, up and down, never side to side. The reason is that it's so hot that when it hits the oil actually gasifies, leaving an air pocket or a pocket around the steel, and so it's no longer being cooled. So move it back and forth, keeps it in contact with the oil, and so it cools rapidly. Also, it's pretty soft at that point. just due to the heat. So if we go side to side, we can get a nasty wobble in our blade, which we don't want. We want them to be flat. Now, it comes out really hard, so hard that if you took a file on it and tried to file it, the metal file would just essentially skate off. It wouldn't actually cut the metal. That's too hard. It's also really brittle, so if you dropped it, it would shatter. So what we do now is once it sort of got down to room temperature, put it back into an oven essentially, and heat it up to 232 degrees centigrade. And then we leave it soaking at that temperature. I like to leave them soaking for 2 hours. Take it out, let it cool down to room temperature, repeat. What this does is actually lowers the hardness slightly. My ballpark figure is around 58, 59 Rockwell. That's a temperature, or a hardness, sorry, that I feel will give me maximum amount of hardness combined with maximum amount of field sharpenability, which means you should be able to take simple steel or a strop or something and sharpen it up fairly easily, or even a rock, with tools you've got in the field, without needing a big flash grinder or expensive heavy equipment, and get a decent edge on it, but also maintain that edge fairly well so that you can skin out a few deer or chop through a few trees without the thing needing to be resharpened all the time. It will still need to be sharpened, and the best way I find is just a light stropping. But unless you hit something particularly nasty or take it too long without giving it a little bit of a touch up, it won't need any major sharpening. And if it does, then when you get home you can do that with your heavy equipment, but out in the field, just something small and light to maintain your edge. Now, I use a professional heat treatment company because, well, I don't have my own kiln. One day I hope to get one and then I'll do my own. The advantage of using their system though is that they have something I'll never be able to afford, which is a vacuum kiln. I don't think it's actually a vacuum, I think they use an inert gas, but what they do is they put the blade in there, they pump the inert gas in, and as it heats up, it doesn't react at all. If you use a normal kiln, you put your blade in, the carbon atoms on the outside, or in the inside of the steel, throughout the steel, can migrate to the outside of the steel and then react with the oxygen present in the kiln to form a carbon oxygen deposit like carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide on the outside of your knife. You can clean it off easily, but the problem is that you're leaching carbon away from your blade. Carbon's in the steel to make it hard, so any you lose, you potentially lose in hardness. Now I don't think you lose much. I think you use very little at all, but you know, why muck around with it when you don't have to? You can get away with this by coating the blade in a boron-like compound, sort of like paint, before you heat treat it, and that prevents it this happening. And that's what I'll be doing most likely when or if I get my own kiln. But in the meantime, using the vacuum / inert gas kiln means that never happens. They do a good job, but I can't say I'd do a better job. I just like to do it myself. But that's a piece of equipment which is $2,500–3,000, so it's a wee bit away. Anyway, first blade, heat treated, starting to clean it up. You can still see there's quite a few marks on there. Hit it with this one. And you're just trying to get those marks off. I actually like the marks personally. I sometimes leave them on, especially for a knife that was for me, but for a customer's knife, which is what this one is, I want to get it as clean as possible. You can see those lines starting to come off. Now remember, I'd taken this up to 1200 grit previously, and so I used 1200 grit sandpaper again, and those marks start to come off. Lovely.